to be recognized for what they have discovered.
Story of our journey started 25 years ago when we realized that what I was doing as a professor was not very different from what I criticized. I criticized exploitation. I criticized rent extraction. I criticized the fact that moneylenders, the traders, the landlords exploited the poor. And I realized that I was doing the same thing in my own career. I was trying to exploit the knowledge of the people that I was collecting, and which was giving me name, fame, wealth, but nothing was going back to the people whose knowledge made it possible. With this realization that I was no different from other exploiters about whom I was writing, the idea of Honeybee was born. Honeybee does what we intellectuals don't do. It cross-pollinates. How much of work that we do goes back to the people from whom we collect data? Very little, hardly any. And that too, in the language that they speak. How many times do we cite people? They are anonymous. So can we, for instance, recognize that a nameless, faceless person comes in contact with the network, gets an identity? That's what Honeybee Network does. It gives identity to nameless, faceless people because they have solved a problem through their own genius. Not all the honey that honeybees produce, they keep with themselves. So when we collect knowledge from the people, obviously, if any benefits are generated, a reasonable share must go back to them. We can't retain all the surplus with us. We can't become a rent extractor. So we cross-pollinate. We don't make them anonymous. We protect their knowledge rights. We share with them what we have got. We tell them what we did with the knowledge that people provided us, and essentially create a social capital which helps us to build upon the trust, the reciprocity, and third-party sanctions in case we violate these principles. So we started with this concept, and we realized that learning from the common people is inevitable. You know, if you look at all the large companies in the world today, they all are opening up their boundaries. There is no company worth the name, GE, Procter & Gamble, Siemens, you name the company, and they will have an open innovation platform. Why? Because they have realized that internal R&D is not going to suffice, will not be sufficient for generating solutions to the problem they are facing. Because these solutions have to be extremely frugal, they have to be extremely affordable, they have to be environment friendly, they have to be flexible. How do they generate these solutions? So we believe, and I think you will all agree, that learning from the common people is inevitable. Now, nobody can deny the need for that. How do we do that? We will see. Innovations are embedded in the grassroots economy. If you are a materially constrained person, you don't have much land, you don't have much animals, you don't have much physical resources, what would you leverage? You will leverage a resource in which you are rich. What are you rich in? You are rich in knowledge. You are rich in ethics. You are rich in institutions. So poor people are economically poor, but they're not poor in their mind. Please appreciate that. We must never assume that somebody who's economically poor is also having a poor mind. On the contrary, that is the only resource they leverage, that is the only resource they maximize. Therefore, let us build upon a resource in which poor people are rich. So if companies have to change their mindset, they better do it to recognize that if they want to develop frugal solutions, do they have a choice except talking and communicating and learning from and reciprocating with the people who are solving problems in their own way? Now, why am I here to plead with you that while microfinance has become a buzzword all over the world, you have hundreds and thousands of conferences, research papers, meetings on microfinance. I have no quarrel with microfinance. It's useful. It is useful in developing countries. It is also useful in some of the developed countries. But is it all that we can do? What happens to the need for changing the production function? So of course, credit and technology linkage has not yet been forced. We have not been able to understand that unless you shift the production function, unless you change the ratio of input to output, real gains will not come in the economy. How do you shift the production function? You shift the production function by bringing in innovations. That's what innovation does. It changes the ratio of input to output. Very simple. And it leverages a resource which otherwise was going waste, was not being leveraged, was not being drawn upon. So if there are ideas all over the world which are very critical, let us see how. This video, I hope it works.
नाव का इंतजार मुझे गवारा न था, मुझे मेरे प्यार से मिलना ही था। मेरी बेकरारी ने मुझे आविष्कारी बना दिया। पर प्यार को भी आविष्कार का सहारा लेना ही पड़ता है। आविष्कार ही मेरी नूर का नूर है, नई खोज ही मेरी जिंदगी का जुनून है। माई टेक्नोलॉजी।
How many of you had seen such an amphibious bicycle? Please raise hand. 1, 2, maybe. Now you see the point? Microfinance cannot solve the problem of a product for which market does not yet exist. Microfinance is a solution for those products and services for which market already exists. For products and services for which market does not yet exist, what do you need? You need micro venture finance. You look at any document from World Bank, Asian Development Bank, any research organization, any financial organization, you will not hear the word micro venture innovation fund. So why is there such a great silence? There's such a great silence is because people don't trust, people don't believe that there are creative ideas waiting to be tapped at the grassroots level. If for information technology, for biotechnology, for other advanced technologies, risk capital is critical, why would it not be critical for grassroots innovations? Obviously, it will be critical. But when we set up this fund way back, in 2003 was the first formal fund set up. The idea was tested during 1997 through GYAN. 70% of the people given investment under single signature, no co-obligant, no guarantee, no group guarantee, single signature. That innovator has shared his knowledge or her knowledge with us. We can't trust that person, we must trust that person. And under single signature, we made an investment of about $1 million that we had from Small Scale Industries Development Bank of India at National Innovation Foundation, and 70% of it came back. Anybody who claims that 90% money can come back, then is not taking risk. Pardon me for saying this, but I think anybody who claims that the poor people can return 90% of the money, then you have not invested in real poor, because there's no logic, no economics, which can ever prove that 90% of the money will come back because of the natural variation, climatic change, market fluctuations, and a whole range of risk that people have to cope with. So what are we saying? We are saying that if there are innovations at grassroots level, then you need a whole range of risk capital, pre-angel fund, angel fund, and different kinds of resources that we need. And this is so fundamental. This is so fundamental that without this, we cannot transform our society. We cannot transform our economy. The first thing a creative person would need is obviously an ability to add value to whatever he or she has done. So there are few steps that we need to take into account to build an ecosystem for micro-venture finance. First is you must have a database. So you must scout and document the innovation that people have developed. To give you an example, somebody asked me, give us an example which a French farmer can use from Honeybee database. I said, very simple. If farmers are tired of chemical pesticides and they want to reduce the cost of their cultivation and make their production more sustainable, they must look around their farm, those plants which animals don't eat. I learned it from a farmer. Why animals don't eat those plants? Because they are bitter. What do you need to control pest? Bitterness. Why do you have to buy chemical pesticide? Make your own pesticide of those plants which animals don't eat. That is a simple heuristic. Now, this heuristic is universally applicable. It is applicable in France, it is applicable in India, it is applicable in Africa. So we should not learn only from the artifactual aspect of innovation, but also from heuristic aspect of innovation, from metaphorical aspect of innovation, from gestalt level of innovation. 4 levels at which we can learn. So we must have an institution which reduces ex-ante transaction cost and ex-post transaction cost. Ex-ante transaction cost includes searching information, finding supplier, negotiation, drawing up the contract. Ex-post transaction cost includes enforcement and monitoring, side payments, conflict resolution, and redrawing the contract if it doesn't work. So we need institutions to add value. We need institutions to protect their design, to make their design more friendly, more flexible. And of course, we need media to communicate these ideas to the people. So if there is an investor sitting here, and that investor doesn't know where the good ideas are, there's another entrepreneur sitting here who doesn't know where the investment is, where the ideas are. How do you make this triangle happen? How do you make the triangle happen? You have to reduce the transaction cost of innovator finding the other two, investor finding the other two, entrepreneur finding the other two. This is the trick. And for making macro venture finance work, we'll have to make this triangle happen. And therefore, we will have to understand that we don't have to have a centralized system. We can have decentralized system. People in different regions can identify the innovations. They can also provide financial capital that is required. Monitoring and mentoring can be done centrally to identify how it is done. So let us look at some examples. This is a windmill costing how much? $100. $100 windmill made of bamboo in Assam by Mehtar Hussain and Mushtaq Ahmed. We bring it to the Gujarat to make it for the use for salt workers. How will it diffuse? Ideas don't have their own legs. Let me give you another example. Look at this central image here. There's a fridge. All of you have refrigerator in your house. You all know that refrigerators produce heat in the compressor, isn't it? At the back of the refrigerator, there's a compressor which circulates the gas. It is very hot. It produces heat. Is there any company in the world which uses this heat? No. So one student drove from a small engineering college. As a student, discovered this heat is going waste. Now, those economies which are used to affluence, which are used to wastage, which are used to having sufficient supply of energy, will not even pay attention to this source of heat. But we don't have that luxury, you know. So we have to find every source that we can exploit. So he looked at this heat, put a heat exchanger around the compressor, took the heat, made a hot chamber for keeping the food warm. Your child is going to come late. You want to keep the food warm for the child. Food will remain warm. And when you take the heat away from the compressor, compressor works less. When compressor works less, it uses less electricity. Now, this is the model of innovation that I'm talking about. Frugal innovation. Less input, more output. This is what we need for the circular economy. This is what we need for the future. This is what will make our economies resurface, resurgent, will revitalize the economic system. There are a large number of such solutions that we have. We also have art and culture. Now, not every artist would be able to reach you. So let's say you are designing a building. You want one wall to be painted like this lady has done, Bhabhi Mahato has done. How would you reach it? So there have to be a platform for folk art and culture. You pay the cost of bringing her. She will make the paint. She will paint the wall. She has now become an entrepreneur. Somebody has to invest in this platform to reduce the transaction cost of those who want authentic art and culture in their offices, in their homes, and help those artists to remain free of the constraint, of the burden of having to find their food. So there are so many innovations. There are innovations like this, a wheelchair which climbs on the staircase. You have a bag which has a folding chair. Lots of such ideas. This is an example where technologies, ideas of 6 communities was put together, and all of them were invited when a company launched this cream for eczema, for skin infection. The royalty goes back to them. So risk capital makes it possible for adding value to those ideas which are scattered, which are not finding market, create market for them. Because yet market does not exist, we cannot use the normal financing channels. So a lot of such examples exist. Finally, let me say, sustainable social transformation will require us to leverage a system which will meet the unmet needs, which will use the skills which have not been used, which will use the resources which are lying underutilized, and which will also tap the risk-taking, the entrepreneurial culture, and the resources that people have. So time has come to make a transition, to make a paradigm shift from microfinance to micro-venture finance. And then we will be able to make G2G model, grassroots to global. If investor from France will invest in an innovation from India, set up an enterprise in Africa. This is what G2G model is, reverse globalization. Not large companies selling things to poor. That is what base of the pyramid logic is. We are saying, no, unless money goes from your pocket to the pocket of a grassroots innovator, how will his life or her life improve? So we need open innovation platforms, we need social open innovation funds, we need open source and IP protected technologies, we need community structures, and finally we will be able to create a horizontal economy, an economy where we learn from somebody and we reciprocate that, that person receives some resources from us, he reciprocates or she reciprocates, and finally we'll be able to tap the knowledge of children, knowledge of students, knowledge of innovators, and please remember, mind on the margin are not marginal minds. Minds on the margin are not marginal minds. These are paintings by young kids. One of the kids wanted to make a house on moon. Doesn't matter whether it works or not, but this will be a beautiful painting to be put on a greeting card. That kid can become an entrepreneur in class 3, class 4. Why not? But he doesn't know. We don't know how many cards will sell. So therefore, we have to take risk. Now, for anything for which market is not yet sure, you have to take risk. We need micro-venture finance. We need Honeybee. Therefore, network welcomes the impatient minds, the empathetic spirit, creative, collaborative, and compassionate hearts. And I'm sure many of you sitting here have hearts like that. Thank you so much.